Good morning, everyone. Let me begin by recognizing that we are gathered on the traditional lands of Treaty 7 First Nations and also recognize and acknowledge Métis people of Alberta who share a deep connection with this land. I'm joined by my colleague, MLA Joe Ceci, here as well. We are here to make an important commitment to public safety and to supporting the most vulnerable. Everyone in Alberta has the right to be safe. Alberta's police officers are the first to tell us ensuring public safety is a big and complex job. It requires properly funded police service with the tools and resources they need. And they're working together as a team with each other and with many other community and social service partners. To make a meaningful impact, police officers must work in an environment that also includes adequate emergency shelter space, bridge housing and affordable housing, and fully funded addiction and mental health services. It requires sophisticated domestic and international intelligence capabilities. It also requires a commitment to diversify and to strengthen community engagement and leadership, including with and by Indigenous community leaders. In 2019, when the UCP took office, they cut supports for housing, they cut social assistance programs, and then refused to fund shelter spaces. Now, after 4 years of bad governance, after a pandemic and affordability crisis, these social problems are getting more complex and worse. So our solution must be more comprehensive. Last week, the Alberta NDP announced our first commitment towards addressing this issue. We will house 40,000 Albertans who need a place to live, and we will increase family and community support services by 50%. So there are more local social services across Alberta to deal with local issues. Today, we are here to announce another important part of our strategy for safe and supportive communities. In 2019, the UCP increased their take of municipal fine revenue from 26.7% to 40%. Municipalities across Alberta lost funding that was used to support policing and other services. And with the two biggest losses of revenue were seen in Calgary and Edmonton. The UCP then reduced policing grants to smaller rural municipalities with another cut to those communities. I commit to you today, if an Alberta NDP government is elected, we will reverse these cuts. We will invest in better policing and stronger communities. First, we will restore the $32 million in traffic fine revenues that the UCP cut in 2019. We will direct this money to be used to fund integrated community and police response teams in urban communities and on transit lines, including the hiring of 150 more police officers to serve areas like Edmonton, Lethbridge, Red Deer, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove, Fort Mac, and right here in Calgary and elsewhere. We will work with municipalities to not only hire these 150 police officers, but we will pair these officers with 150 social workers, mental health workers, addiction counselors, and community outreach workers as a part of integrated teams. This is 150 plus 150. 300 frontline partners working together with a focus on safety and support. This will include investment in community agencies that are doing work to stop harm and provide treatment, like Alpha House. It will allow us to direct resources to enhance teams already established, like 911, 211 co-location, Indigenous teams, and culturally appropriate and trauma-informed outreach. This includes the DOPE team in Calgary and COT team in Edmonton. These touchpoints with integrated police community units will support safety for public and for people in crisis. We will also support civilian oversight and community liaisons to ensure good metrics, reporting, and community involvement. That includes partnership with ethnic, indigenous, and multicultural communities to better prevent crime. All told, we believe this plan will cost roughly $40 million, and the bulk will be covered through the restoration of fine revenues. We will also get to work right away on establishing a long-term funding agreements with municipalities to maintain and stabilize both public safety funding and critical provincial services. This could include, as appropriate, stable number of police officers proportionate to crime levels and type and community needs, integrated police community response unit and partnerships, indigenous policing partnerships and agreements, provincial commitment to wraparound supports and upstream health, mental health, harm reduction, addiction treatment, and access to training and employment to address the root causes of crime. We will not hesitate to ensure our communities are safe and that people get the help they need. And I will now turn things over to Municipal Affairs Critic, my colleague Ceci, for another important commitment we are making to Albertans today. Joe.
Thank you, Irfan. Good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate all the work you've done on this public safety plan. I know people here in Calgary and right across Alberta are looking for this type of leadership. We understand concerns about public safety are on the rise. I hear them right here in my constituency of Calgary-Buffalo, and from folks right across this province. Rather than taking substantial action and getting to the table with municipalities, the UCP has chosen instead to focus on firing the RCMP. Well, I'm here today with another important commitment that you will see in black and white in our platform. We will keep the RCMP. That is a platform promise. We need to invest in frontline policing, not changing the name of the force and repainting police cars. Danielle Smith and the UCP want to throw away hundreds of millions of dollars on their plan. Municipalities don't support it. Albertans don't support it. So we won't support it. Instead, we will ensure that the RCMP in Alberta and our municipal police services have the necessary funding and capacity to work on behalf of all Albertans. We will make an initial investment of $10 million in specialized rural crime reduction units to target and shutter organized crime in rural communities. These units will focus on arresting prolific offenders. They will dismantle illegal drug laboratories and crack down on the production and distribution of opioids and crystal meth. We will employ technology to target rural crime, including bait programs that use technology to identify criminal activity and organized crime. This is one piece of a larger strategy to build safe and supportive communities. It means working together, and that's what we will focus on. Collaboration to keep our communities safe. Thank you. Turn things back to you.
Thank you, Joe, and I think that collaboration piece is so critical. The integrated teams we are announcing today will be vital to how we move forward to build a better future. We are dealing with Albertans who are broken, people who are sick, people who are desperate, and sometimes people who are a danger to themselves and others. Integrated policing, including police on transit, is the best way to respond to these issues, because policing alone will not solve this problem. We need social supports, we need housing, we need addiction and mental health supports. And in the coming weeks, we will present more ideas to fight inequality in our communities and make sure vulnerable Albertans can escape poverty. This is how we fight despair with hope, with real sports, not rhetoric. So every Albertan can feel safe and supported on our streets and in our communities. Thank you, and Joe and I are happy to take any questions, including follow-ups.
Okay, we'll go to questions on the line. Just reminding, if you're joining by Zoom, to use the raise hand function. And the first question goes to Catherine Gurkowski.
Clarification. So when you're talking about keeping the RCMP, the Premier has indicated there's about 15 communities that are interested in exploring the possibility of a municipal police force. Is that completely off the table? Would you support continuing that exploration? What happens to the communities who are looking at a municipal police force?
That option has always been on the table and will remain so, but I will let Joe to expand on it.
I just agree with Irfan. That option's been there for municipalities forever. If they wanted to explore that. I can tell you, though, that at resolutions at different conventions for the RMA and the Alberta municipalities, you regularly see them vote unanimously in keeping the RCMP in this province. They know that the costs to transition to an Alberta police service is prohibitive and will come at a higher cost to them and their municipalities and their local ratepayers. And as I said just minutes ago, we don't need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on transitioning to an Alberta police service. For instance, let's use those funds to address crime in rural communities.
Is there a follow-up, Catherine?
Yeah, so in the news release it says hire more probation officers and invest in post-release programs to stop repeat and prolific offenders. I know the Canadian chiefs of police are going to be meeting with Premier shortly, and one of the things they brought up is the number of people who are committing crimes while out on bail. And I'm hoping you can elaborate a little bit more on the details. Is this to monitor people who are out on bail or who have recently been released, or is it to make sure they're rehabilitated and in order to reduce recidivism? Like what's the post-release programs that you have in mind?
I think the idea here is to focus singularly on making sure that our communities, be that urban center, be that rural communities, are safe for Albertans. So what we are committing here is additional resources to those communities so that those who are on front line, police services, municipal leaders, their police commissions, they can make the decisions to best address the needs in their communities. And those resources can very well be directed to address post-release programs, be that rehabilitation, be that monitoring them. But idea is to make sure that Albertan can feel safe in their communities.
Any other questions, Catherine?
No, that's good for me, thanks.
Okay, we'll do another pass for questions on the line. And, we got one from Jason Herring. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, hey folks. Last week the UCP Rebecca Schultz came out and, criticized the NDP for past comments on criticisms of police, said NDP doesn't have this, public safety plan. Is what we're seeing today a response to what we heard from the UCP last week?
I think UCP has no credibility when it comes to addressing crimes or addressing issues facing Justice Minister. They have Daniel Smith there, who talked 11 minutes with an extremist, Arthur Pawlowski, about his criminal charges at Coots blockade. And now they will do all these things just to divert, instead of calling an independent investigation into the interference of justice system. If Rebecca Scholz wanted to be taken seriously, she should call out Premier's interference in the justice system. Second, the only party that has cut police funding is UCP. In their first budget in 2019, they cut 13 million, for instance, just from Calgary. I represent Calgary Northeast, which has been hit hard by gun violence, gang violence, and drugs. And they have not done anything to address that violence. The first budget in 2019, they cut 13 million from just Calgary police budget, 10 million in additional fine revenues, 2 million from forensic testing, 1 million extra in cannabis revenue. So I think UCB has no credibility when it comes to addressing crime and issues facing justice system.
Was there a follow-up, Jason? And sorry, you're muted. You have to unmute it.
Oh, sorry, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, we'll do one more pass.
Okay, one more pass for questions on the line.
And seeing none, that's all for today.